Yay.
Last time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for January 22nd, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:30. And Beth, may I have a roll call, please?
Select Chair, Ms. Hart.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Kishka.
Here?
Selectman, Mr. Italian.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Blinn.
Here.
And note for the record, Town Manager, Mr. Pearson, and Finance Director, Mr. Colby are present.
Thank you. Would you all rise to the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
I didn't turn my phone off.
First order of business, I believe, is to approve the meeting minutes for January 13th. So may I have a motion for that,
Make
please?
a motion that we approve the minutes for January 13th.
All right, is there a second on that?
I'll second the motion.
All
Got
right,
it.
so John's going to second that. Is there any discussion on the minutes? No, seeing none, I'd take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain, so the vote is 3-0-1. Thank you, guys. All right, so first item on the agenda is to take a formal vote on the 2020 proposed budget. And I believe Greg Colby was kind enough to give us a synopsis of what the Board of Selectmen had approved and the final approval from the Budget Committee as of last night. And as you can see, there's a $26,500 discrepancy in that. So I guess my first question to the board is, do you want to motion to reconsider the bottom line budget? Do you want to leave it like that? Or what would you guys like to do? Because I think we can just vote on a bottom line budget if you prefer.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well,
You
we
mean
can,
the new budget, the new number?
yeah, we can vote to approve the new number that the Budget Committee approved,
Okay,
or not.
okay.
And then if you want to reconsider, we'll take a vote on that. So do you, first of all, do you want to reconsider changing our recommendations? And if you do, somebody put a motion on the floor for that.
Okay.
Well, I would like to see a little discussion first, because maybe we don't have that answer.
You want to discuss before a motion?
Well, I see there's only two items that were changed to make up that difference.
Well,
Well,
three
for-
items. Oh, yeah, two items,
Two.
you're right. Yep.
For us to discuss it, do you want me to just put the motion on the floor and that will allow us the
To
opportunity to discuss it?
yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we
Okay.
revote or reconsider
Okay.
the budget.
And may I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
All right, and so now we can discuss. What
All
are
in
your
favor?
thoughts?
All in favor?
All in favor, yes, sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So now we can,
Now we
have
can
a
discuss,
discussion.
yes. What are your thoughts?
Well, he's the representative to the Budget Committee. You were there live.
Right.
So explain to me what transpired recently to change these two numbers.
So the number you're talking about is the $20,000
$20,000.
from assessment?
Yep.
And basically, they were looking for a place that there was any additional slack. At least that was my interpretation. And so when they looked at the assessment, they looked at the cost of the two proposals that came in and basically said, we don't need that much money in that account. So what we did not know, and what I did not know, was that that money was there to pay for the industrial revaluation.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes, there's two components to the values anew, the utility portion, which we had not put out an RFP for, which we will need to do probably next month. So there was $40,000 earmarked for that and about $135,000 for the residential values anew. So,
And we're going to have to do a values anew this coming year.
yes, yes. So,
So the other, the other two items were the $6,500 for a second person to be present for the solid waste dumping at the landfill. This is leaves and branches and stuff and, non-toxic type things. And it was under the, again, this was my interpretation. My interpretation was they didn't see the need to have two individuals present there, that they felt they could do one. Now, they had a discussion with the department head, and the department head said the reason they need two is because there's two parts of the dump, people coming in at the gate and people where the dumping is occurring. If one person was present at the gate, they would not be able to see what people were dumping. So that was his comments or his justification for that. They made the determination that it didn't matter. They were going to take out that additional person. So those are the two line items. And all the other ones that were reduced had already been voted on.
Correct. That's
These are the
correct.
only two.
So, is there any further comments or?
Well-
Go ahead, John.
Was
Yeah.
that, so that 65 represents somebody's pay to be there at the front gate? Was
Right.
that for a year?
For the year, for just that Saturday that they do the dump, they get time, obviously they get time and a half from their contract. So we can't even put, a part-time person or something like that in that situation. It's staffed by the highway department. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
And even though those people are, they need to have at least one person present that is licensed, Dan has continually got all of his people trained. So I think there's only one person left that needs to be trained, and all four of them will be trained. Is that correct also?
Certified, right?
Yeah. So that's to me, it was kind of an interpretation of how he should manage that.
So we're just going to eliminate the guy at the gate,
Exactly.
but we're going to have somebody in there watching.
That's certified.
Yes, yes.
It seems like that's doable.
Yep.
So my 2 cents worth is I, at this point, am not inclined to reduce the assessing budget by $20,000 because we need that money. And the $6,800, in my opinion, on an almost $10 million budget is sort of a moot point. It's maybe 35 cents off a tax bill. So I personally do not see the need to be in sync with the budget committee for those two line items, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
In
John.
my opinion, too, is I think not to cut that 20, because I think we're going to need that. Because
Yeah.
when we got the new software, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do now.
Right.
And I know some people who cut the budget were really in favor of getting that new software. But you can't just get it and
That's
not
true.
fulfill all the things that are required by it, like the values anew when it's all converted, which I don't, how we budgeted that. But the 6,500 taken off, I can go with that, like John said, but I really don't think it would be right to take the 20,000 off.
All right, so would you like to readjust our budget line item? Because if you do, then we'll have to have another motion on the floor for a final bottom line budget. What are your thoughts on the 20 grand? Do you want to leave it in?
I say leave it in.
All right, so
also.
are we looking at just taking $6,500 off of our adjustment? Is that what we're looking at, guys?
What's your opinion, Greg?
Well, my opinion is we hire department heads that are experienced and have been doing the job for a long, long time. We trust that they will keep the roads safe. They will take care of the resources in the town. And if this is a determination by the department head that he believes that two people are needed, and there's no other workaround, I think we leave it to him to decide that, not for us to decide.
So I'm guessing you want to leave that in there, correct?
I would like to leave it in.
So are we kind of on a consensus that we want to leave the 20 grand?
26,500?
Well, 20, or leave everything in? You want to leave everything in? Your thoughts?
What do you feel, John?
Well, how badly is the front gate,
Yeah.
do we need a guy at the front gate watching cars go in? I mean, what's his actual function?
His function is to ensure that the people are from Plaistow coming
And they're
into
not
the
trying to
gate.
sneak stuff in that's not appropriate to
But
to
isn't
dump
the
in
other
the
guy-
landfill.
The other person is controlling where the stuff is being dumped and directing it at the dump. This is a reduction that is very similar to the reduction in sand and salt and paving. sand and salt is a determination to keep the roads in the town safe. And if that's what the department head for highway believes is necessary, I don't think it's the budget committee's responsibility to tell him how much salt he needs. So I was really kind of uptight about that because I don't think that was their determination. The other one for the paving budget is to keep potholes filled. It's to keep our neighborhoods looking good. So that's also another safety issue as well as value issue. If your neighborhood is all broken up road and potholes, you're going to have a hard time selling your house. So that's going to affect the values. So those two big reductions in the highway department, I feel very, very similar to this. It appears to me that there is a micromanaging of the department, and I don't think that is really the role.
So, go
But
ahead,
that's
John.
my
Well,
2 cents.
you know, it could go either way, but it is in realm of tax burden. It's not a lot. And if it's better for the town, it may save us more than that by
Yeah.
aggravation or what can go on. So, you know, I'd be inclined to agree and just leave it in, 26,000.
So is that generally the consensus of this board? Because I also agree with John on that. What about you, Julian? Are you
Oh,
okay
on the
with
big
that?
picture thing, 6,500 is not worth fighting about.
Right.
If it doesn't get spent, it doesn't get spent at the end of the year, it goes back into the taxpayers' fund. It's not like
Right.
it doesn't have to be spent. So,
All right, so it appears as if we want to keep our recommendation consistent.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go any further with that because we've already got that done. So the next thing we need to do is go to the default budget. And Greg,
just
can
want
I?
to make a statement, the
Oh, I'm sorry,
bottom,
go ahead,
that
go ahead.
for those in the public that are not aware of it, the bottom line is the budget that goes to vote is the budget committee's vote.
Right,
So if
it's
there's a
good.
difference, the
Right.
budget committee's vote is what goes on the or amount goes on the ballot.
Right,
So it's just that we have a slight disagreement, it's not that much.
right, thank you, good point, good point.
So do we need to make it just a motion to vote, or
I
just
don't-
vote on that?
I don't believe we need to because we're not going to change the bottom
gonna
line.
change it.
Okay,
we
so
don't
this
need
is
to change
this was the previous,
Yeah.
what we approved previously?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes,
good.
all right, we
Okay.
reviewed it, and we
Good.
decided not to do it. So the next question that I have for Mr. Colby is, do we need to sign off on the default budget, or has that already been done? It has not, so we need to vote on that tonight and sign
Yes.
off on it tonight?
Yes.
And give that to Beth? Or to you?
Well-
Give it to you?
Once you approve it, what I will do is go back into the portal with DRA and
All right,
approve it, so that,
perfect.
as you notice, this one says draft, so it's
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
okay, yeah,
very light. So once we do that, and you approve it, then we'll move forward with finalizing it with DRA, print out the final reports, and then I'll get selectmen's signatures on that afterwards for the
Afterwards?
posting on
Okay.
Monday.
all right, thanks, all right, we'll do that.
Could I just ask for just a point of information? So I'm looking at your warrant here in P2002,
Right.
the general fund, the operating budget. So the number that's in there is that 9706991, which is what the Budget Committee
Right.
recommended. But underneath, you have a recommendation by the Board of Selectmen. So if you're saying that you don't agree with that number, that it should be the additional 26.5, is there a different vote that you put there that you're not recommending that operating budget?
Correct.
Yes.
So is that
That's the
something
next
you're
thing we're
gonna also do?
That's the
Yes.
next thing we're gonna do. What my
Okay.
thought was is I would do the default budget next, because that's in our agenda, and then we would start with the warrants.
Okay.
And that would be in
So
that
I'm
context.
sorry for interrupting.
No,
I just
that's
wanted to make
okay.
sure
No,
you weren't
I know.
passing over
Yep.
that.
No,
Okay.
no. So the next vote is on the 2020 default budget, and I believe the default budget is listed as $9,726,000 and $991. Is that correct?
That's correct as far as the warrant article is concerned.
No, that is,
Wait.
No,
that's
no,
the,
no.
it's
no.
9,984,653,
Yeah, it's
which
the other
is
one.
the general fund portion, and 157,444, which is the water department portion.
Okay, so that is on page,
So the total is on page 4 of the DRA
Right.
form, $10,142,097.
$142,097. So is this the number that we are voting on, is it 10 million?
Yes.
All right, okay. So may I have a motion on the floor to recommend the default budget for $10,142,097.
I'll make the motion to recommend the default budget be set at $10,142,097.
All right, and then for everybody listening
the
out
motion.
there, yes, for discussion's sake, that does include the water budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so is there any more discussion on the default budget?
Just for clarification, the default budget is done by a special formula. And I think you're the expert here on this is sitting right there.
Well, I mean, the RSA, the contractual obligations, and what we ended up doing is I took the budget, by department, both the town manager, myself, as well as Lori Sadowitz, we went down through it line item by line item to make determination of what is in there and what we felt should be the default budget, so.
Yeah, and what happens is it's defined by law. You can't just pick and choose what stays and what doesn't. It's defined by law, so it's not like we can agree or disagree. If it's done correctly, that's the number.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
And can I just bring up one point of information? It's logical that the default budget this year would be higher than your operating budget because when you look at the big picture, you're talking about an operation budget that has been reduced. So you can never expect to have a reduced budget and have a default budget that's going to be less because the operating budget for this year is less than last year. Then you've got those other things that are required by law to be included. So it should be of no surprise to anybody that when you cut back on a year, your default budget from the previous year is higher. It's logical,
It's last year's budget plus.
plus whatever things
the
that we
obligations
can't
that you
control
have.
that are
Correct.
required by law.
Right.
So it's not something unusual, because it's gonna be higher. It's higher than the operating budget, the proposed operating budget.
I know a lot of times you'll see your discussion in public, sometimes when they're talking about the school budget as examples, they'll say, well, the numbers are manipulated, so you wouldn't vote for the default budget, but the default
not
budget's set by law.
Yeah, that's not true.
And if you do cut things, or some expenses go away, your new budget can be less than the old budget.
Yeah. Like, I'm guessing that next year, the default budget may be, well, no, it'll be more.
We'll see how it works.
Never mind, no more conjectures, all right. So enough
We'll
discussion.
take one year at a time.
Yeah, is, okay.
Last year, the default budget was.
It's less, a little bit
than
less,
the
yeah,
actual
all right, I knew
budget,
there was one
so-
time that
Which is
happened.
more unusual than to have it this way.
Yeah, okay. All right, so if there's no further discussion, may I have a vote to approve the default budget, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So that motion will pass 400. And so we are going to go back to P2002, the operating budget, which is $9,706,991. So that's the number that we're voting on, even though we approved a different number. So I was wrestling and struggling with all of this because I'm going to tell you that while I do not want to approve the default budget, I also don't want to approve the very, very stringent budget that the Budget Committee approved also. So I'm struggling with that, guys. So I don't know how you guys want to handle that, but can I have a motion on the floor to approve the budget that the Budget Committee approved?
I'll make a motion to approve the general fund budget. I don't know if I want to read this whole thing.
No, you don't have to read the whole thing, I don't.
Totaling, let's see, the purpose set forth there and totaling $9,706,991. And then, should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $9,984,653.
Right. So may I have a second for that?
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion on this?
It is a kind of a dilemma.
It is. For me, it is.
Because
For me, it is, yeah.
Just because we don't agree with a few numbers,
There's a lot more than just a few numbers.
it's just, it's some numbers, but do I want to go back to the default budget? No.
No.
So it's kind of one of these things that the vote yes or no doesn't give you in-between options, right?
Well, basically we're letting the voters decide.
And in some cases, in this one, an abstain is not, you'd be saying, oh, I don't like either one of them because of certain reasons. But even abstaining is you're not choosing one or the other. It's a tough decision.
Are we ready to make a decision, or?
Well, we have to.
Yes, are you ready to decide? All right.
Yeah.
So all those in favor of accepting the Budget Committee's operating budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, and I'm going to abstain because I am in a quandary on this. So the motion will carry 211 for the operating budget, all right?
I know
Okay.
that some of the, some people, some things you may be cut a little less. But I know the way this town is managed, the town will get the job done.
Of course, yeah, but,
So, we have good people in this town, so it'll work.
all right. So next, we're going to go through the rest of the warrants very quickly, hopefully. The Water Department operating budget, we had originally voted on that. Do we want to leave that vote the same, or do we want to motion to reconsider?
Let's motion to reconsider the water budget.
You do want a motion to reconsider? Okay, may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 400, and is there a discussion on that? No. All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the budget for $157,444.
I'll make that motion to approve the water budget for $157,444.
All right, second?
I second motion.
Okay, no further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion will carry 400. So I guess my thought is, and you tell me if I'm going astray here, guys, I'm just going to ask you if you wish to reconsider it, and if you have not, if you don't want to change your vote on any of these warrant articles, we're just going to go with the vote that was there unless you want to redo it to 400. What are your thoughts?
It's kind of weird that some are 5-0s.
I know.
Well, the ones
So
that
what do you
are,
think?
the ones that are five, just to make things faster.
Yep.
The ones that are 500, can we just make a group, can we make one budget, one motion rather, to revote those with one vote?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Is that all
sure.
right?
Yeah, I'm good with that if you two guys are. All right, yeah, because I don't want to keep motioning and motioning and
Yeah, it was
motioning.
kind of, when it was voted, there were 5 selectmen, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right, and unless the somebody's changed their minds or their votes, we don't really need to do this. So, okay, so the next,
And we're agreed on what?
400.
we are agreed on 400 for the Water Department. So the next warrant article is P-2004. So may I have a motion on the floor for that? That is for the Public Works Facility Garage for Phase 3.
So, again, I'll make a motion that we make one vote to approve warrant article P 04, 05,
Can we do that, or do we
06.
have to do each one at the same time? I mean, can we do a group of them at the same time?
07,
Wouldn't it be easier
08.
just to revote?
I mean, we'll save a lot of time.
Yeah, just
09,
revote it.
010,
Yeah.
011,
Well,
I mean, 11 rather.
How about we do it the-
12 and 14.
well, in the past, sometimes the selectman changes their vote after many weeks or a couple months goes by. So if you don't actually re-vote, you're making the assumption that the selectman hasn't changed their mind on new facts.
All
That's why I
right.
would just
So
Only for that reason. Both have been
If you
changed
want to
in the
go through
past.
each one of them, that's totally up to you.
Sometimes you reconsider your vote, you had a little piece of information at the beginning, and then now you had more. You might change your vote from a yes to a no, or a no to a yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve warrant article 2004.
All right, second, please.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 400.
Make a motion that we approve article 05.
Contingency fund?
Contingency
Yeah, all right.
fund.
Could you say it so the people
Sure.
out on the TV
Article
know?
2005 contingency fund, $80,000 appropriation withdrawn from the general unassigned fund balance, $80,000, no amount to be raised by new taxes, $0.
All right, second?
I second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
I make a motion that we approve the Pollard Road culvert repair, P-2006, total appropriation for $90,000, withdrawal from the general fund unassigned fund balance, $90,000, no amount to be raised by new taxes.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
I make a motion that we approve the Highway Department equipment truck bed repair, Article P 2007, to see if the town will raise and appropriate $50,000. So this appropriation for this article is $50,000. Withdrawal from the expendable trust fund, highway department equipment would also be $50, and thus no amount would be raised by new taxation.
All right, second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Anyone want to help?
Yeah, no,
Highway
keep going,
department
Greg, you're on a
equipment.
roll, keep going.
Forklift, Article P 2008, see if the town would raise and appropriate $25,000 for the purchase of a highway department forklift. Total appropriation, $25,000. Withdrawal from the expendable trust fund, highway department equipment, $15,000. Withdrawal from road impact fees, $10,000. So no amount to be raised by new taxes.
All right, you have a second?
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
The budget committee votes on this, are these the current ones?
We don't,
Yes,
Our
the
budget,
ones,
yeah.
all the
Just
ones.
looking at what's printed here.
All the
Yeah.
ones that are, that have money associated with them, they have voted on.
they have, but some of these votes are not accurate, you're right.
You're right, they're not, what I
That's
heard,
not our
what I watched.
concern. That's not our
Okay.
concern, that's the budget committee's concern, and whoever's filling out these.
But they need to be accurate by the
Yes,
time
they
this gets
will,
finished.
and we will verify these before they go to
But I
ballot.
know those aren't accurate.
Yep, I know they're not
Capital
either.
Reserve Fund Deposit, Fire Department Apparatus, Article P 2009. To see the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be added to the Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund. Total appropriation, $100,000. Currently balanced in the Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund is $236,898.69.
All right, second? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Capital Reserve Fund Deposit, Fire Department Radio Fund, Article P 2010, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the Fire Department Radio Fund previously established. Total appropriation, $15,000. The balance in the Fire Department Radio Fund as of December 31st, 2019, was $15,809.21.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
The motion.
All right.
You both did.
I'll have Julian, we'll pick Julian. All right,
Thank
so,
you.
pardon?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know, I'll referee here. Okay, you guys can take turns back and forth seconding things. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Capital Reserve Fund Deposit Buildings and Building Systems, Article P 2011, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $28,000 to be added to the Building/Building System Fund previously established. Total appropriation, $28,000. Balance in the Building and Building System Fund as of December 31st, 2019, $15,347.86.
All right, second, please.
I'll second it.
All right, Julian, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Capital Reserve Fund Deposit Energy, Article 20-12, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the Energy Fund previously established. Total appropriation, $25,000. Balance in the Energy Fund as of the end of the year was $59,856.77.
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Citizens petition, So Rock donation.
Could you?
Sure.
Please forgive me for interrupting you.
Nope.
Could you not read the whole thing, just read what the
Okay.
appropriation is? Yeah.
All right. So the citizens petition, So Rock donation, Article 20-13. It is a petition to raise $7,729 for the So Rock organization.
Okay, so may I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. And abstain. So that motion fails 0-4-0.
And we had a discussion last week on
Yeah,
that. And it
yeah.
wasn't that we don't want to donate, it's just that we felt it didn't go through the proper procedures.
Yep.
And
And I-
vetting through our Human Resources Department.
And I
so, yeah.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. with
Capital
that.
Reserve Fund Deposit Transportation, Article 20-14, total appropriation of $25,000.
Second?
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Create and deposit to Information Technology Fund, Article P 20-15, to appropriate $15,000 to be placed in that fund.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Funding for permits to fix the cap of the Plaistow landfill, Article P 20-16, to raise and appropriate $150,000 to fund the permitting process for the Plaistow landfill closure to comply with DES regulations. Total appropriation, $150,000. Withdrawal from the general fund, unassigned fund balance, $150,000. No amount to be raised by new taxes.
All right, may I have a second,
I
please?
second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
We had a discussion.
You want a discussion? Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things, I know it needs to be done, but I'm looking at the other things that need to be done too. I'm trying to prioritize what would I want to make sure it gets done this year, and those things that might be able to be done next year. And in my opinion, as far as the taxpayers go, and it's not an article we voted on yet, but an example like the Public Works salt shed. I would more like to see that done this year because it finishes the three-stage process rather than kind of do everything this year. I know it needs to be done, but if it waits another year, in my opinion, it still get done. Yeah.
This was previously voted on 300.
Yeah.
Correct. Is there any more discussion? John, do you have any comments on this? or-
No.
If we have to
Greg?
do this,
Yeah.
and it's part of this process, and I know this is going to be a long process, we will always have that landfill. We have to take care of it. And if this is putting money aside to start that process, we should spend it now versus wait until the price goes up.
Oh, okay, go ahead, John. What was your comment? I'll get
Is
to
this
that.
going to defer the salt shed?
Well, it's not that, it's just that I'm trying to balance
No.
with all the different warrant articles on there.
Both of those warrant articles are taken out of the unassigned fund balance, so it doesn't affect the taxpayers' taxes at all, either one of them. And I understand what Julian's saying. If there's a priority, yes, I go for the salt shed too, but I believe we can do both because we have a significant surplus in the fund balance. But I'm sorry to interrupt and not.
You stole the words out of my
Oh,
mouth.
all right, okay, all right. So you don't need,
I concur.
all righty.
But it's not a bottomless pocketbook.
No, it isn't. But, I believe you explained to us that this is a multi-year process, and this is only a partial payment to get the rest of this done. And I love your famous phrase about kicking the can down the road. I am a proactive person. I believe this board has been incredibly proactive. Look at all the stuff we did last year. So my thought is I would like to get the ball rolling on this and start looking at some engineering fees, so that we actually have a real number in 2021 to say, okay, what's the bottom line and what is this going to cost? Because Greg's right, it's just going to go up. So I personally would like to see this happen. So if there's no more discussion, I will call
And
for
it's
a
not
vote.
going to change the tax rate?
No, because it's the unassigned fund balance. We've already escrowed that money.
Yep.
So it's not going to be taxable to the taxpayers. That's money that we've already set aside. So if there's no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, you're going to go for it?
was a
big
delayed
guy?
aye.
All right, great. I love it. Okay, so,
Article 20-17, shall the town vote to appoint a town treasurer pursuant to RSA 41-26-E.
okay, second, please. And John, do you have questions on that?
Yeah,
or-
I'm not up to speed on
Okay.
this.
All right, just a quick capsulation is, treasurers have been elected in the past.
Yeah.
And some of the people that have been elected don't possess either knowledge, skill, or ability. They have to have some accounting background.
okay.
And so we've had a lot of turnover in this particular elected position. So what we're going to ask the taxpayers to do is to appoint a treasurer, so at least we can interview people to say, okay, what's your experience, what's your background? And so with the board's approval, Mark would be appointing someone with our approval. So it seems like it would give us a more qualified person, and we wouldn't have such frequent turnover.
Is there a pay scale that is?
I believe there's a $7,000 stipend, but that probably should be looked at this year, too, in my opinion. Is that right? Yeah,
So
okay.
basically, Mark would be interviewing and making sure we
Recommending.
get the right person.
Well, I would do that and make a recommendation, but my
Recommendation, right.
recommendation would be contingent upon the board, and that
Right.
was something the board discussed. Just one other point. I think that I can read into this and say that when you have an elected position, obviously that person has to be a resident. This now broadens this, so it doesn't have to be a person that's a resident. So it takes that out, because what happens if you have no resident that wants to run for that position, and then somebody says last minute, oh, nobody's running for it, I'll take it, and we're back to square one. It's been a significant turnover. The big thing that you should know about that job is that is very important to the finance department for reconciliation of the credit card transactions and the checking account and the overall funds. And if you don't have somebody in there, it creates more work for our full-time staff in the finance department.
As Beth will attest.
Yes, I shouldn't have even said anything. I should let Beth explain. So Beth, can you tell us what your opinion is?
I don't know if you can say that on television, Beth.
Do you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely,
Like,
okay.
yeah, just you have no stability because this person comes in, either they don't want to do it anymore, or they find out they can't handle it because they don't have
Yeah.
those skills.
It's not
And then
as
they-
easy as you
And
think.
they quit.
Yeah,
And then who's going to do it?
And I
Fortunately,
don't,
we got lucky that Beth handled it this end of this year.
so
so.
just to be honest, let's not fool ourselves. I don't think that you're going to get somebody to do it for $7,000.
$7,000, exactly.
I think that that's going to
I
have to
agree.
be something that's adjusted.
I agree.
So
And I,
it's what the market will bear and how many hours. I really think that it depends on the person's ability. If you get somebody with a lot of ability, a lot of experience, then they can probably fly through it. And if you made it so many hours a week, it might be all right. But if you're trying to train somebody and they have no experience, it could take them a long time. And if you're paying them by the hour, it's going to be very expensive. So we would look for somebody that has experience.
Maybe Mr. Colby has a brother.
or a clone or a twin, I know, that would be great. But I also want to personally and publicly thank Nancy Bolduc for her great assistance in helping us throughout the rest of this year, because every time I go in that office, she's in there, and she doesn't bring pajamas or anything, but I see her there all the time, so I really want to thank her for all her extra work.
Yeah, she has
this
stepped up
past
and got
year.
the
She
job
did. Yeah, she did a
finished.
great
Yeah.
job. So, anyway, are we ready to vote on this? Okay.
Yeah.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion's going to carry 4-0-0.
Who was the second on that?
John.
Okay.
John, yeah, sorry.
Expendable Trust Fund Highway Department Equipment, Article 20-18, shall the town vote to amend creative language? This is doing is appointing the Board of Selectmen as agents of this fund. And because that's all it's really doing and not changing the intent of the previous fund, it only requires a majority vote.
Correct, yeah. And thank you for looking into that, by the way. That was great. So may I have a second on that, please?
I second the motion.
All right, any discussion on that?
I'm thinking.
You're thinking? All right.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0-0.
Expendable Trust Fund, Old Home Day. Shall the town create an expendable trust fund under the provisions of RSA 31:19-A for the purpose of depositing donations and proceeds for our Old Home Day?
Okay, may I have a second on that?
Question?
Sure, yeah.
This also has, I didn't read this, but this one does include a phrase that says, appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents of the expend fund, and that's something we really need to do every time that we create a new trust fund.
Right, right, and I think there was mention made with the scuba and the mics. That was kind of a one-shot only deal for a trust fund. It was a
Yep.
very specific thing, and I suspect that's why it had not been done in the past, as opposed to the fire department or the
Right.
highway department, which is ongoing.
Okay.
But that's a good point. We really need to be
Yep.
careful with our warrant articles. I think every year we get better and better and better, though, I really do. So,
This
go ahead.
warrant article is a little restrictive It says only the advertising brochure. What if someone donates to the
No, it does
whole
say
company?
donate, any
Yeah, it does say
donations or proceeds.
Or
From the advertising brochure.
deposit any donations
Comma.
or
You want a
proceeds
comma?
from the advertising brochure. So it's
Right.
two things.
So should we put a comma after donations? Because we can fix this with Martha when we go to proof it. Would that make it better, more understandable?
Yeah, and make it more
It would
clear,
stop-
because you
it
read
would-
it first and it sounds
Okay.
wrong.
You
All
have
right.
like a complete thought first before you go on to the,
Okay, so donations,
Brochure.
comma, okay, we'll make sure we do that. Any more discussion? And who is the second on that?
I'll second it.
You'll second it, okay. All right, so, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion carries 400.
Town Elderly and Disabled Tax Relief Trust Fund, Article P 20-20. Shall a town establish a town elderly and disabled tax relief expendable trust fund per RSA 31:19-A? So this also further names the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend said fund, and this is just the creation of the fund. It is not any procedures for actually doing this.
All right. So may I have a second on that?
I second the motion.
All right. So is there any further discussion?
Yeah, what do we have to do after, let's assume that this gets passed, what do we have to do if we wanted to start this?
We have-
We're going to leave that up to Julian and
We have-
Barbara.
Well, we ha-
No, but I
it's
mean,
not just,
I mean, is
we
it-
have to create a policy.
So you're going to
In
create a
writing.
policy, and the policy would come to the board, and the
Right.
board would approve it? Okay,
Right.
that's
And you-
all, that's what I wanted
Yeah,
to know.
and I'm guessing that you're going to have to establish a committee and go through all this stuff, but since it was their
Okay, no, that's good.
brainchild, they should be
That's
the
fine.
ones to
Absolutely.
suggest that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that when we originally did this, I voted against it, not for the idea of it, but for the process of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to roll over and I'm going to vote yes on this, all right? So if you're ready to vote the motion, we can vote the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Aye. All right, so motion carries 400.
okay.
All right, conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, Article P 20-21, shall a town revise conflict of interest code set forth? And I'll just read the explanation because it describes it better. This article removes creation language no longer applicable to the town code and can only be amended by warrant. This also allows citizens to more fully participate in their local government by allowing multiple people who are married to be able to work on different boards.
Yeah, yeah, all right. Okay, so is there a second for that?
Doesn't really be, in family members too, because there's sometimes
Family members,
immediate
yeah.
families also been sort of,
You're right.
So may I have a second?
I'll second it.
All righty. If there's no further discussion on this, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries 400. Okay, last one.
Sport betting. Article P 20-22, shall a town vote to allow the operation of sport betting within the town pursuant to provisions of NH RSA 287-1?
May I make a motion to reconsider putting this on the ballot in the first place? So I'd like to
To
put
re-vote
a
on that?
motion to re-vote on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
because I
second
want
that.
to talk about to this with you guys, because I wasn't here.
I'll second that.
All right, so can I have a vote to reconsider? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you,
Talk
400.
about it.
I guess, after reading about this and listening to your discussion at the last time, your concerns were about safety, security, what's the word? Addiction, all kinds of stuff. And some of those fears were sort of put to rest, but I guess the big picture of it is the state is going to allocate these 10 positions regardless of whether we do this or not. And also, they are going to redistribute the proceeds all the way across the state regardless of what we do. So I guess my thought on this is until we know a lot more from the state on what they're really doing with this, I would like to postpone putting this on a ballot until next year, until we know more information. And I'm also concerned about the infrastructure, too, because if we're having people zipping up and down, and even if we don't need to have a police officer because of crime, they're interfering in our infrastructure and all of our operations that we wind up always picking up the tab for. So you know, unless I hear a lot more information about how much money are we actually going to get, the Keno thing did not work out terribly well, so I'm very wary about doing this. And Greg, I keep mixing this up. Do we have to opt in to be one of the 10 towns?
Correct.
Okay.
It's not
So,
10 towns.
10
So it's
10 locations,
it's
10
10
locations.
Nope, 10 positions, 10
Positions, okay.
licenses.
All right.
And whether or not we have a location in the town, very likely we would only have one location.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a very large organization coming from Massachusetts to get that particular slot. Whereas Keno, and I think John made that comment
Yeah.
about that's something you could put into a bar or a restaurant, and so you would probably
Right.
would see that in more locations, and it would help bring a little bit of revenue into the organization. This is not going to bring revenue into the general commerce of Plaistow. And I agree with you, it's going to have a significant impact on the services that we are providing. People are going to be coming in to place bets and then come out of Plaistow. So we're going to have traffic coming in here, and I'm not so much concerned about, crime or, I'm just more concerned about what is the impact that it's going to have on our town. If this location was in Salem or Seabrook or Derry or Londonderry or Atkinson even, it doesn't, we would still have the same benefit in terms of money coming to the schools. So, and we wouldn't have to expend our services to be able to accomplish that. So that's kind of my concern, and I think we need to study this. Keno came in, and I think as a citizen, when I voted for Keno, it was, this is a way of paying for our kindergarten. And it didn't do that. It didn't do that at all. So I would like to find out what the state is actually going to do. We can always opt in at a later time. And anybody in the town can still place bets.
Yes,
All they do is register with one of those locations, and now they can just do it online. They can bet online through their account.
Julian, did you have a comment?
Well,
I'm
he-
sorry,
he-
were you finished?
I'm finished. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Well, he
Okay.
mentioned the kindergarten part. Well, whose fault is that? I don't know. But he said right up front, you had to institute a full-time kindergarten program. Plaistow did not do that. So therefore, Plaistow didn't get any money. That's just one piece of the
Right.
puzzle. So that's maybe not the appropriate comparison. Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of says that what we think it's going to be may not be what it turns
Yes.
out to be.
Caveat emptor.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, and I got the same email you got.
Yep.
All right, John.
But
Oh, go ahead.
my concern is, there's too many ifs in who's deciding where this goes.
Well, the state is deciding where it's going to go.
Yeah, I saw how money from the Keno fund was being distributed, and they said all of a sudden they decided, well, we're just going to put this to a building fund. And then that building fund only went to people who currently owed money in the building.
Right.
So the people who paid their buildings off are now getting nothing.
Right.
Which is not fair either. So I question about how the legislatures, the people who make these decisions in Concord, how they're going to decide to handle this one.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I guess that's my point, and Greg's point is, let's put the brakes on this. We don't have to do this year. We can let it get fleshed out a little bit more and see where it's going. So, did you want to say
Well,
something too, John?
when we had this discussion
Yeah, yeah.
before, I was kind of under the impression that a businessman who owns a restaurant or a bar or something could opt in and collect some revenue off of this. But it's obviously not going to be that way.
No.
So I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. So, if we are in agreement on this, can I have a motion to remove this warrant article?
We don't need to, we just
Oh,
need to vote it down.
Just vote it down, all right, and it's off the
Well,
warrant?
no, you have to
Well,
have a vote to
Call
take it
for a
off the
vote.
ballot.
Call for, no.
You could have a
If-
004 vote,
No, wait a minute.
and it still
She's-
stays on the ballot.
Wait a minute. We made a motion to re-vote the decision to put it on the ballot.
Correct.
So if now we're going to vote that. So all in favor is 0 and all against is 4, then it comes off the ballot.
Comes off the ballot, right.
I didn't
That's
hear
the
that. I didn't
decision.
hear that from the
Yeah, it
my
was the
right side.
decision of putting it on there, and then I think what you're talking about is the recommendation, when we have a motion
Yeah,
on
but
here.
I was just hearing.
That would be the
The way it was
recommendation.
explained from my right, maybe just the words were chosen.
Is that because I don't know what I'm talking about?
It sounded like a
Don't
different
say
vote.
yes, don't vote for that, okay. All right, so,
Call a
not a
may I have a
recommendation.
vote? Did I get a second on it? Yes, you seconded it,
Yeah,
right?
all you have
Yes,
to do is
okay,
call
so
a
all-
vote.
All those in favor of removing the warrant article?
Putting it on the ballot, that's what the
Putting
motion
it on the
is.
ballot.
Of putting it on the ballot?
Removing
Okay.
it.
No, putting it on the ballot, he's
That's
right.
exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, okay, so all those in favor of leaving it on putting it on the ballot, say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
And abstain, so the motion fails, so
take it
it's
off the
0-4, 0.
We'll see how it works in the other towns.
Okay, yeah, and we can revisit this next year if we need to. Okay, thank you, guys. All right, so now I have a question for Greg Mark. Who is responsible to confirm the votes that the Budget Committee voted on this, and where does it go from there? Are we responsible to make sure that the Budget Committee votes are accurate on this? Or who does that? Because I want to make sure we're right, because some of those votes are not right from the Budget
So
Committee.
one of the places we would look is to the minutes of the Budget Committee, and we don't have those.
All right, well, I'm going to get to you after, I know, I'm going to get to you for that. All right.
Is there a
But
specific,
is someone specifically
is there a
responsible?
specific vote on these
I
that
think,
that
there
you're
was a
talking
couple of them,
about?
I thought, that,
Because I thought I copied these right from
was it
being
the
at the
most
Budget Committee.
recent?
I think I copied these correctly.
Pollard, they did, yes. Highway, they did. Yes, highway, they did. Fire department, yes. The radio fund, I do not think they approved. I thought it was 4-5.
Road.
The radio fund was 5-4.
It was, you're sure? Okay. I know they didn't do energy. The Budget Committee, the Soul Rock donation is not on there either. It's 000. And I'm
that
sure they
was-
did not approve that either.
Okay, they did not, it's not copied? I thought we copied
It's,
it.
it was 09.
Yeah.
It was
and it's
09, yes.
0001 here. So anyway, so
What page is it on?
it is on page
There,
7,
09.
page 7?
Page 7.
Yeah,
I keep going right over it and missing
I
it.
know.
Says 09.
It says,
Oh, mine says 000. All right, okay.
Hey.
I stand corrected then. I
Where's
must
the one
be-
for the salt shed?
Did you
Yep,
look
there's
at the one that was in your selectmen's package, or did you bring your own? Okay.
Where's the one, salt shed is on page 7?
No, the salt shed's on there.
What page?
There's like
I'm
the
going
third
blind
one
because
in.
I'm looking
It
for it
is
now and I can't
on
find it.
page 4.
Page 4.
At the
of
top.
Page 4.
You're right. I'm having a scanning
when-
problem today.
when we,
Yeah, we're good.
when we did that, I don't think we just read the appropriations,
Yeah,
and we basically, it was called Public Works Facility Garage.
right,
And it doesn't say in the title, salt shed.
right, it just says phase 3.
Right, phase 3 of
Yeah,
the,
so, all right, so we are good with the warrant
Facility.
articles, gentlemen? Yes?
I got a question on that one. Why do we call it the garage? It's just a public works facility. Or is it
That's,
garage? It's the salt shed.
well, it's a word that was used to remind people of the garage
Yeah.
because it was a phase of the garage. If somebody has ado about that, that word can be taken out. I'm sure DRA wouldn't object to it because it doesn't change the intent.
no.
No, it's just the title to the
Yeah.
warrant. Or you can change it with however you'd like.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
if you
you
don't
could,
put garage, it
you could take out
includes
garage, you could
everything
say
there.
Public Works Facility Phase 3. You
Do
could
you
say
want to
that.
take that out, then?
Yeah, it's, garage
All
sounds
right,
like
we'll
it's the
take it
main
out.
building and it's
We'll
not.
take it out.
That's a good point.
All
That's a
right,
good
we'll
point.
take it out. So,
Misleading.
so since you're the guru for the warrant articles, Greg, could you make those changes with the comma after donation, or is that already
okay.
beyond you to do that?
Beth has the final
Oh,
copy.
Beth has it, all right. So
Beth, are you good with this, for these edits?
Yeah, I'll take the word garage out.
I've been keeping
Okay.
track of everything we talked about, so
Okay.
I will work with Beth. If you
Okay.
need another copy, Beth, I've got
I gave her the
everything.
last, the final edition, and she was going to be modifying anything that needed to be
Okay.
changed.
All right, so we're
Sports
good?
betting will come out.
Okay. So next item on the agenda is preparing for a deliberative session. There's a couple of you, well, actually, only one of you gentlemen that has never done deliberative before. So one of the things that we need to do is, we as selectmen are responsible to explain the warrant articles to the public. So do you want to take like the first 4, and then I'll take the next 4, and you'll take the next? Do you want to do it in that order? And so basically what you're going to be doing is reading the intent statements and answering any questions that any of the public might have. And if any of us get stuck, one of us will jump in and help, and certainly Mark and Greg will too, so.
Will the actual articles be on the screen, or so that the public can see them?
Yep.
It's at Paul, I believe it's going to be at Pollard, so I can't speak to the AV
The
stuff.
deliberative session has been moved to the Pollard. We're working on all of the arrangements now. I've met with Dean Zanillo, I've met with the moderator.
Okay.
And we're working out the logistics for the sound system. And Beth is going to change make all the notices when we post things, the warrant after tonight, and we're going to change it on the warrant and the voter's guide. So the intent is that every one of these would be up on a screen for the moderator so that people can watch it and see it. Now, they won't be able to see it at home on the TV channel, but they'll be able to see it on a live stream. So there'll be a scroll on the TV to let them know that they can go to something live stream to do it. That's the difference between here and the Pollard.
We can have this on the website by that time,
Sure you can.
Beth?
Sure you can.
Yes?
Yep.
PDF of the voter's
Just have
guide?
a notice.
The whole warrant. The whole warrant can be
And that-
uploaded.
And that way,
Yeah.
and that way we could actually communicate to people back home
Okay.
to say, if you need to be able to see the actual wording, just go to the town website.
Yeah,
And it's
you
right
can
on
put it
the
on the
front
front
page.
page.
And
Yep.
pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, we haven't been there since the layover.
I know.
Well, you've been there for water meetings.
Well, for a water meeting, but not for deliberations. Last time we had deliberations there was when the
2015,
layover
I
was
think,
trying to come to town.
2015, yeah, 13, okay. So, who wants to take the first 5 warrants? Anybody? Because there's 22 of them, we'll divide them up, 5
I think you
fours
should
are
do the
20.
first 5.
I should do the first
Yes.
5, okay. And, Julian, you want to do the next 5?
I'll do the next 5.
All right, and who wants the
I'll
third?
do the third 5, if
All
that's
right,
all
we'll
right.
do the 4th group of 5, John, and I'll make sure that we know who's done, and then I'll take over the last 2, because it'll roll around again.
No, I can-
Okay, all right. And could I also ask you gentlemen to kindly be there about 15 minutes before we open our session, about 8:45, so that we can get settled in, we can get our seats. And at the end of the deliberative session, we may need to re-vote some of these warrant articles and/or budget articles, depending on what the taxpayers decide they want to do. And Greg already knows that as a budget liaison, he will, after we're done voting our stuff, he's going to slide over to the budget committee, and he will vote what the board voted on the budget committee. So we'll have, everything will be nice and smooth, and we're going to take accurate notes on who voted for what, and hopefully it'll be a nice, smooth transition. So if anybody has any questions on that, it's pretty straightforward. And if you don't have questions, I guess we can move on to the next item agenda.
So,
You good with that?
so
Yeah, go ahead.
one thing if it's okay, I'd like
Yeah.
to add, and that is, if citizens want to come to the deliberative session and make motions to change the budget, or I believe any warrant article,
Yes, anything,
okay?
anything, yeah.
that they should have their motion written out so they can hand that to the moderator.
Good point.
And that if they are making motions on the budget, while they can explain where they perceive the need to either take money away or put money towards, that they're just changing the overall bottom line. In other words, the total dollar amount. They're not making motions to add a particular budget, like I want to add recreation, or I want to take away from recreation X amount of dollars. No, I'm going to increase the budget by this amount of dollars, and this is my reason why. So that's fine. So everything would be based on either adding or taking away from the bottom line budget.
Okay, all right, okay,
The actual warrant article.
all right.
You can't go back to other forms and things. It's
And-
what's
and-
on the ballot.
And our taxpayers are really smart, so they restrict reconsideration every single time, which is good, so we're not here for 10 hours, so. All right, so we got our yeoman's work done, so just the next couple of item agendas, and we can
Can I
get out
interject
of
one
here.
thing?
Yeah, Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to bring it up as discussion since we have our full board here. I think I brought it up last meeting and we discussed it on the side a little bit. Possibly in addition to the voter's guide, to have a video made. And because I know a lot of people don't like to read stuff, but a lot of people will just sit down and watch a short little video, which may be just reading what's here, and with a little interjection of explaining things in people words, so that people understand what they're voting for or not voting for. And it's a lot easier to watch a 15-minute video or something than to watch hours and hours of former selectmen's meetings and budget meetings trying to figure out what's going on with this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a great suggestion, which Francine made, and it was that in the past, we had a budget committee chairman, we had the Board of Selectmen chairman in the past, but you know what we really need? We need the planning board chairman, because
And
those warrant articles on zoning are ridiculous for the normal person to try to read.
So I bring you tidings of great joy. Because of his great idea, I already did my little thing, and I already contacted the budget chair, and I contacted Tim Moore, and he said he would be delighted to do this. So once everybody's on board, and thank you for that suggestion, because we haven't done it for a while, we'll try to put something together after deliberative and obviously before the voting, so we can do what I call the fireside chat. So I expect a burning fireplace and some Merlot. And
The Cracker Barrel.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
believe there's gonna be.
So thank you for mentioning that. That was a great
This is
idea.
going to be the first time, I guess,
In a while.
that the zoning board will actually have the
Yes,
voter's guide
yeah.
Excellent.
add-on.
Yep,
Which will
so-
probably be added to the same one.
Yes, it's going to be added to the voters guide, and I believe it's going to be in a different color.
Yep.
So open, transparent government and letting the people know everything we're doing and giving them as much information as we can. So thanks, guys. Good
Pages and
job.
pages of zoning things.
Good
and feels like,
job.
what does this say?
I know. They did a huge amount of work this year. Tim did an outstanding job. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the Health Department temporary coverage. I'm going to turn that over to Mark.
So in the signature folder is some information that was passed on to me by your health officer, and she will be going out on medical leave. So the appointment falls on the Board of Selectmen. She, of course, did her due diligence before she left and made me aware and made you aware that by statute that you are the appointing authority, and she gave you the Salem health inspector who would come over here and perform her job in her absence while she's out. So it would be a smooth transition. So that's up to the board to name Brian Lockhart, the health officer in Salem, as a health inspector in Plaistow for the time being.
How is that going to be executed? Do we call him when there's a necessity,
Yes.
or do we? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and I believe you guys have already signed off on that. Is that correct? On your signature folder?
And
Yes.
you'd have to make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a
To appoint.
motion to,
Oh,
go ahead, I've interrupted you.
No, you should read his name and everything, and make a motion to appoint
Brian
him.
Lockhart?
Brian Lockhart, yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Brian Lockhart as the temporary health department inspector.
Inspector, yep.
Okay, all right, good enough. All right, may I have a second on that?
Finish signing it.
Oh, I'm
I second the
sorry.
motion.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the motion will carry 4-0-0. Okay, and I think the next one's yours as well, Mark.
So in your package, there's some photos. The significance is that I wanted you to see what is out there on Smith Corner Road is a sinkhole or a collapse of a drainage structure. It's off the side of the road, and it's been covered with some plates and a sawhorse until the spring. And it's just another unanticipated collapse of a drainage structure. Sometimes when you open it up, you'll find the extent of the damage. It's not something you can always see on the top. I wanted to illustrate that for you because it's a very important thing to have the funds to be able to do that. And usually when it's unanticipated like this is, we would go to the contingency fund. So in the past, we've had to use it. Last year, we had to use the contingency fund for this. So it's just another illustration of how important that contingency fund is. That's one. We don't know how many more they're going to be. Since I've been here, I don't think there's a year gone by that we haven't had a part of a road collapse. We had Wentworth Ave, we had Smith Corner Road, we had a couple others, and we've had these structures collapse. And there's only one thing you can do, is to tear it up, and then as you tear it up, you find the extent of it. And Wentworth Ave, it started out to be small, but it grew all the way up the road until we finally made it work. I mean, if you've got a collapsed pipe that's down gradient, and then as you dig it, it's collapsed, you have to keep on going. So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I'm not asking you to take any action. I'm just bringing it to you to illustrate a point that we have it, making you aware of it, and that we can't get to it till the spring, and then we'll deal with it in the spring.
Do we need to get permitting to get this taken care of, or
Not
any
this type.
DRA approval or anything?
Not this
No.
type.
Okay.
No. Because it's existing, and so
Okay.
we'd be just doing replacement in kind.
Okay.
As opposed to the road collapse one, which was
Right,
different.
right, right,
you know.
okay. All
So
right.
can I ask, what material was in the past used for the piping?
In the past, there's been different types of material. See, it depends on the age of this. A lot of times, the oldest ones have the corrugated metal pipe. So it's a galvanized metal pipe, and that's what was on Smith Corner Road that completely deteriorated. It deteriorated to the point that we couldn't even tell what size pipe was there. We had to take a best guess estimate. But the newer pipes that are being installed are the plastic pipe, the black plastic pipe, and it has the ribbed outside but has a smooth interior, and that lasts a lot longer.
So this is this contingency fund is funded by the unassigned fund balance. And the other important thing that this does not show is that if there's any money left in the contingency fund, it goes back into the general fund.
Correct.
So it's not being lost or anything, or spent on anything else other than a contingency type issue.
And then you vote on it again the next year?
Correct.
My recollection is that we started this in 2018 for the first time.
That's right.
We had 85,000.
That's right.
And I think that we used in the $60,000 range. In 19, we had 80,000, and we only used $16,700. So the remainder of that went back into the unassigned fund balance. So you only use what you need, and the rest goes back in. It doesn't go anywhere else. It's not spent, for any other reason. So, so my point is, by bringing this up, is twofold. One, to let you know, but two, to just let you know how important the contingency fund is, because I'm just gonna guess that as the budget, the operation budget has been thinned down to a minus 2 point whatever percent, I don't know what the exact percentage is, each one of those line items is been cut overall, and so there's less wiggle room or less funds available. So it's actually creates a greater need to have the contingency fund, because you don't have the corpus budget. You have the corpus budget, but you don't have the flexibility that you had. So you're trying to do the same level of services with less money, but the question is when you don't have enough money to fix things like this, where do you go? So I'm just saying that I'm hoping that the contingency fund warrant article passes, because this is we're only in January. We've already got one, so that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention. I mean, what happens if we have one of these for 4 or 5 months in a row? And we have a big one. What do we do then? I mean, I don't think the budget can support a $50,000-$60,000, hiccup. I mentioned about the heating system in this building. If that should happen, I'm predicting $50,000. Well, there's no $50,000 line item in the budget to fix the heating system, so we can't predict what will happen.
Go ahead, Julian, yeah.
I make a suggestion, possibly, it's factual information, that in the contingency fund explanation, we know that it goes back into, it has to say to people, it's going back if it's not used, and maybe that history of a couple of years is a good piece of information. We used this much this year, and we didn't use a lot of it the next year. It all depends on events.
And that would be a good point for me to mention in the Vimeo.
So Greg could get the actual numbers right to the dollar of what was spent in the last 2 years and put it in there, because it's not to sway, it's a factual.
Yeah.
You have to, you have to explain clearly that it's not one of those funds that accumulates.
Right.
Right. Okay,
So that was one thing.
yeah.
And if I can, Madam Chairman, I put this sheet in your folder because in my searching online for different things, I found that this was the best timeline that I've seen in a long time, instead of reading the other calendar from the Municipal Association, because you start reading that, and it's quite involved. This really gets to the meat and potatoes of all of our dates. So after tonight's meeting here, tomorrow is the last day for the Budget Committee to deliver the budget and the warrant article recommendations to the governing body for posting. So if they haven't done that, they need, the deadline's tomorrow. And then our last day, or your last day that we take care of here, is to post a warrant, the budget and the default. So Budget Committee will deliver, I'm sure, all of this by tomorrow if there's anything left out there. And that enables Beth and I to make sure that it's posted, and it'll be posted at the Pollard School, the place of voting, instead of waiting till the last day, which would be next Monday. Because we've had to wait in the past till the last day, and this is nice that we have this done
Yeah.
ahead of time,
And we should.
which is why you had the meeting tonight, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys coming in extra too. You've done a lot of that recently. Okay. Any other items? I just have one more thing, and you're going to so hate this, but it has come to my attention that we are in violation of the law by not posting meeting minutes for the Budget Committee because we are bereft of a note taker, and we have been since October. So I would like to have someone put a motion on the floor to direct the town manager to arrange for a transcription service for the Budget Committee. And they will need to transcribe their meetings from, I believe, October 8th through the current year, so that we're up to date and we're compliant with the law. I did speak with the budget chair this morning and told her that as soon as that's set up, she should be notified so that she can upload all those Vimeos to the transcription service, and she will take responsibility for that. So all I just need someone to do is to just pull the trigger and get a transcription service. So,
I'll make the motion.
okay, thank you.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the Budget Committee Chairman, it would be helpful if, when we do this, that she's also available to work with the transcription service, because one of the things is that somebody listening to the Vimeo won't necessarily know who's speaking, because the way that I've observed the
Yes.
meetings is people are just speaking out. They're not being recognized by the chairman saying, the chair recognizes, Budget Committee so-and-so member. It's people are just talking. A transcription service isn't going to know who that is. So that person, somebody's going to have to be there to work with the transcription service to say, oh, well, that is Budget Committee member this that just talked, or, they'll be able to recognize the voices. So it's not as easy as just send it to a
No.
transcription service.
No, however, at least we're going to get the ball rolling that we have a service and we can start moving forward to work on that, because we need to do that.
Sure. And that might cost a lot more money.
Well, I've been looking at $1 a minute, and I'm thinking, that about, $50 per hour is what we've been paying our note takers, and so I'm thinking it may be a wash, but you know what, if it's more, it's more, and we'll deal with it as we see fit, because don't forget, they don't have any more meetings until they reconvene in April after the election, so that should give us a little bit of money in the pocket. So,
And we have to make sure that doesn't happen again.
yes.
I mean, any meeting needs to have someone doing the transcribing, because it's required by law to
Exactly.
post it within a week.
Exactly, I know, we're all going to jail, guys. That's it.
I didn't realize they weren't posting.
All right,
I'm watching the
I
video.
thought things were settled too, and it was my fault for not following up, so now I am. Go ahead, Greg.
Francine, is there anything that we need to know about the coming election? Just to set our expectations. Probably
mean as
more-
far as-
More especially John and myself.
As far as the voting is
No,
concerned, or?
is what we are expected to do as selectmen. Are we expected to be there the whole day?
March
What
10th. I
time?
think I'd like to table that discussion. It's getting late, and I really wanted to only
Okay.
keep you guys for an hour. So I think we could table that discussion until February 3rd. We have plenty of time, and I will explain all of the rules and regulations, and we're down one selectman. I had this conversation with Julian earlier today. And so we'll have to figure stuff out, but obviously with you guys.
So before you adjourn, I just want to mention that we anticipate Monday having the water meeting that is going to start at 6:30, but we have a request from Dean Zanillo from the cable that he needs to make a purchase of some equipment that would help him with the March 3rd candidates night. So I asked him to get me that request in writing tomorrow, and I would meet with the chair on Friday morning to set the agenda, and that we would just ask that you have a quick Board of Selectmen meeting prior to the 6:30, so it'll be about 6:15 on Monday, and that you take action or at least deliberate for the approval of that. And the agents, the Board of Selectmen are the agents for that capital reserve fund to make that expenditure for some equipment.
Can we do that just with a signature, or do we have to have a public meeting?
I think I think we should be consistent with warning the voters, and it's a capital reserve fund, and you set it on the agenda.
Okay.
It's the very reason why I didn't have him come in tonight to just come in and say, I want to spend some money.
Okay.
We require everybody to, come in before we set the agenda, and unless it's an emergency, and follow the same procedure. So, no, I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay.
And he also doesn't have a total dollar amount for us at this point yet either, so it makes more sense to do it on Monday. So is there any, go ahead,
Yeah,
Jim.
I just want, I know it's going to be on the future agenda, but for the new selectmen, there is online training on what's supposed to happen at the voting booths as far as,
Can you send us a link? 'Cause
and
I started trying to
you
find
can
that.
get, you
I
should
could
get
not
that
find
from the
it.
town clerk, because Mary Ellen used to be all over us when she was the town clerk.
Oh,
When you were a new candidate, she beat you up on it at candidates night, that we need help,
Yeah,
because a lot of times people wouldn't show up.
right.
And there are things that there's certain guidelines and laws and how the voting things happen, and what people can bring in and can't bring in, what kind of signs can be out and about, kind of electioneering stuff, which is good to, it's a little online course, and you answer questions.
Oh.
And
So that
Mary
information,
Ellen made sure we did that when she was town clerk.
that information was in your folder a couple of weeks ago.
It was.
It's in the
Okay.
FYI folder.
FYI folder.
Well,
And
there was a sheet, and it basically had different locations where voting law, it was a voting law presentation. And the one that we were planning to go in Derry was the same
Same
day
night.
as the budget meeting.
Right.
So we couldn't attend. The rest of them were like in Keene, Lebanon, and I'm not sure where the other one was. So if there's a online one, that's the one that I was looking for, and I couldn't find it. If
So
Martha knows where that is.
there's also a book that Beth has down in her office, she just received today, and it has to do with town meetings and deliberative sessions and moderators.
Yeah.
And I went to that recent training in Concord. And actually, a lot of things you're talking about the voting and what's allowed and what's not allowed, is really, it's under the jurisdiction of the town moderator.
Right.
So you really don't want to get involved with that. If you see something as a selectman, you bring it to the moderator. And even the moderator, if he has a question, would call the Secretary of State's office. So, the moderator, as I was at that workshop, because I'm a moderator in another town, they went through all the scenarios of what you talked about, signage and vehicles and, what's allowed and what isn't allowed. And, town clerks also have been to recent training on what their role is. So pretty much the town clerk and the moderator are going to take care of any irregularities, but you could be the eyes and ears if there's irregularities, but you bring it to the moderator and really don't get involved.
Right.
Because it would be somebody getting involved in something that really is regulated by the moderator and the Secretary of State.
That's fine. I was just kind of looking at it as our role, our responsibilities as selectmen, when we were supposed to be there and what we should do. And I do understand that the moderator is in charge. Totally understand that process.
Yeah, we'll
But
make sure we cover that well before the
very,
meeting.
very new.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things you want to do, not wait till the night before election.
Right.
Because you will have to you'll be relieved so people can eat and stuff with the sign-ins and things like
Yeah.
that. What's the ID, the requirements? There are photos are taken if you don't have an ID.
You don't want to know the rest of this stuff. I know,
Yeah.
it's very complicated.
It's just things you want to know before it happens. Oh, we have the thing with the handicapped voting. You might want to get together with Martha, and sometime when she starts taking this equipment out, learn how to set it up and start it up in the morning, because you have to learn how to use it, because there's a test you have to do to it. Same thing with the voting machines. There's tests that have to be done by law.
Right.
And we'll probably get asked to participate in that, too.
And we'll go over all of that
Yeah.
at another meeting. So, does anyone have any other business, town business that they need to go through? No? All right, so I guess I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 6:48. Good night, everybody.